You ever meet someone whose absence is louder than most people's presence? The kind of person you don't just remember, you feel when they're not in the room. Be that person. But here's the truth that most people won't tell you. You don't become the one people miss by trying to be like. You don't get missed by being the most available, the most agreeable, or the one who replies in 5 seconds flat. That's how you get used. You become the one people miss by living in a way that makes your presence feel like a gift, not a given. We live in a world where everyone is screaming for attention. Post more, text more, be seen more. But attention is cheap. Presence is rare. That's what people crave. Someone who knows how to show up fully, then disappear with grace. You don't need to be everywhere. You just need to be somewhere worth being. You need to do things, build things, be someone that makes people stop and think, damn, I wish they were here. You want to be missed. Get a life. Seriously. Build a life so rich, so full, so self-fed that people feel lucky to be let into it. Let your time be expensive, not because you're playing games, but because you're actually doing something with it. People are drawn to those who don't need to be drawn to anyone. That's the paradox. Need nothing, attract everything. But don't mistake that for coldness. This isn't about being unavailable. It's about being irreplaceable. The ones we miss the most. They don't just bring fun or attention or ego boosts. They bring truth. They bring us back to ourselves. They call us out with love. They show us what it feels like to be seen for real. They drop a sentence that stays with us for days, a laugh that echoes, a look that tells the truth when no one else will. The world doesn't miss more noise. It misses clarity. It misses people with soul, people who make us feel alive, people who listen like it matters, who talk like they mean it, who walk out the door and leave us checking the time until we get to see them again. So stop trying to be the one they always see. Start being the one they can't stop thinking about. Not because you're chasing their attention, but because you've finally given your own attention to something bigger, something better, something that makes you wake up excited before they even text. Good morning. Be that energy. Be that standard. Be the one people miss. Let me know if you want a video script version 2, camera cues, tone shifts, and all that cinematic fire. I remember once sitting across from someone who said, I don't get it. I'm always there for people. I answer every message. I support them in everything. But somehow they don't value me. They don't even seem to notice me. And I looked at them, not with judgment, but with understanding. Because I've been there too. We've all been conditioned to believe that being endlessly available equals being deeply loved. But that's a lie, a dangerous one. See, the world tells you, if you want to be valued, show up, always, so you do. You say yes when you should say no. You drop your plans, answer the late night texts, offer the emotional labor, thinking, maybe this time they'll see what I'm worth. But that's not how it works. That's not how people work. Scarcity isn't about pretending you're busy. It's not about ignoring messages to seem mysterious. It's not some manipulative game where you wait 3 hours to text back. That's fake, and fake never lasts. Scarcity, the real kind, is about having a life that's so full, so meaningful, so aligned with who you are that you don't need to chase attention. You don't have to convince anyone of your worth. It shows in your energy, in your priorities, in the way you move through the world with a quiet confidence that says, I am already enough. When you start living for yourself, for your goals, your peace, your purpose, something powerful happens. You stop being so accessible. Not because you're punishing anyone, but because you've finally stopped neglecting yourself. You've stopped leaving yourself on read while trying to show up for everyone else. People will notice, trust me, the moment you stop orbiting around them. They'll start wondering where you went. Not because you vanished, but because you recentered, you became gravitational. And there's nothing more attractive, more magnetic than someone who values their own time, someone who doesn't just talk about goals, but builds, someone who doesn't just reply instantly, but shows up with intention when they do reply. I remember this phase in my life where I was available to everyone at all hours. I thought I was being a good friend, a good partner, a good person. And maybe I was, but I was also empty. I was exhausted. I had given so much of myself away that I didn't even know what I needed anymore. My dreams were on hold. My joy was secondhand. I was living in response to other people's needs. And no one, not one person, told me to stop. Because why would they? It served. But life doesn't reward you for being everyone's lifeline. It rewards you for being your own. And when I started pulling that energy back slowly, respectfully, unapologetically, things changed. Some people fell off. Others got upset. But the ones who really valued me, they didn't disappear. They rose. They matched the new standard I set by simply valuing my own time. They understood that love doesn't require constant presence. It requires real presence when it matters. And I became more missable, not because I wanted to be missed, but because I stopped being expected. When you're always there, people don't see you anymore. You become part of the background. But when you start showing up with purpose and disappearing with purpose, your presence becomes something people feel. Look, we're all craving connection, but not just any connection, real connection. The kind where someone's presence uplifts you, inspires you, leaves a mark. That doesn't come from being 24/7 available. That comes from being 100% authentic. And authenticity thrives when you have boundaries, when your time has meaning, when your attention isn't scattered thin, but given fully to the things and people that truly matter. It's not selfish to protect your energy. It's sacred, because every yes you give without thought is a no to something else, often a no to yourself. Scarcity isn't cruelty. It's clarity. It's knowing that your time is your most valuable currency, and not everyone deserves unlimited access to it. You want people to see your value? Start living like you know it yourself, not in words but in action, in choices, in where you show up and where you don't. Because when people realize they can't reach you at every moment, they begin to reach deeper when they do. The conversations get richer. The connection gets realer. They don't just want your presence, they start respecting it. And you in turn start respecting yourself more. You walk differently. You speak differently. You think, I don't need to chase love. I am love. I don't need to be everywhere. I am enough right here. You begin to recognize that being available to everyone is often a mask for avoiding your own stillness, your own goals, your own healing. And when you finally give yourself permission to stop performing, to live with intention, to choose where your energy goes, you stop being just another person in the crowd. You become someone they think about when the room goes quiet. Someone whose words echo long after you've left. Someone whose presence means something because it's not always guaranteed. That's the paradox of scarcity. You stop chasing, you stop pleasing, you start living. And in doing so, you become the one people never forget. There's something powerful, irresistible, even about someone who makes you feel something real. Not someone who's perfect, not someone who always says the right thing, but someone who makes you feel, someone who looks at you and sees more than what you present, someone who says what others are too polished, too scared, too curated to say. That kind of presence. It lingers. It carves space in your memory. You miss that. We live in a world obsessed with impressive. Everyone's trying to look successful, talk smart, be desirable. We've all become little performers on stages made of screens, highlights, filters, rehearsed lines. But here's the truth. Being impressive doesn't make you unforgettable. Being honest does. Because people don't miss perfect. They miss presence. They miss connection. They miss the moment someone cracked open a door into their real self and let them step inside for a second. I remember talking to someone once who wasn't flashy at all. They weren't trying to sell anything about themselves, but the way they spoke, the way they looked at me when I was talking, like they actually cared what I had to say. It shook me. They didn't try to outshine anyone. They weren't the loudest in the room, but they were present, and the moment they left, I felt the absence like a weight. I missed them, not because they dazzled me, but because they touched something real. That's what emotional honesty does. It makes people feel like they're not alone in the world. It's someone saying, yeah, me too, when you share something vulnerable. It's someone dropping their armor first, and in doing so, giving you permission to do the same. Those moments become bookmarks in our lives. We don't always remember what someone wore or how successful they were, but we remember how they made us feel. And more often than not, the feeling we miss most is the rare moment when someone made us feel safe enough to be ourselves. You want to be unforgettable? Stop performing. Start revealing. Stop worrying about being admired and start focusing on being understood. Talk about the things that matter to you, even if they're messy, even if they're not shiny or brag-worthy. Ask questions that go deeper than surface small talk. Hold eye contact like it means something. Listen like it's sacred. You don't have to be loud. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the most successful person in the room. You just have to be real. And real always wins. Maybe not immediately, maybe not in the way that earns applause, but over time, it builds loyalty, memory, impact, because when people leave your presence and say, I don't know what it was about them, but I just felt safe, I felt seen, that's something they don't shake off. Being emotionally honest isn't weakness, it's strength dressed in vulnerability. It's choosing to stand in your truth, even when it's raw, even when it's uncomfortable. And yes, not everyone will meet you there. Not everyone can hold that kind of intimacy. But the ones who can, they'll remember you long after the loud ones fade. Long after the polished ones blur together, they'll remember that moment of realness, and they'll crave more of it. We don't need more impressive people. We need more honest ones. We need more people who can say, this is who I am, this is what I feel, and I'm not afraid to let you see it. Because that kind of bravery, that's the stuff people miss at 2 a.m. when the world feels fake. That's the energy that haunts someone in the best way, when they're with someone else who doesn't quite get them. So forget trying to be everyone's highlight reel. Be their real moment. Be the one who doesn't flinch when things get raw. Be the one who tells the truth when it's inconvenient. Be the one who feels deeply and doesn't apologize for it. Because at the end of the day, people don't miss the person who always had it together. They miss the one who let them fall apart without judgment. And when they think of you, it won't be because you impressed them. It'll be because you moved them. And if you've heard everything I've said and you're still wondering, how do I actually become the one people miss? Let me tell you this. It's not about being louder, richer, more attractive, or more followed. It's about becoming real in a world drowning in the fake. It's about doing what most people are too scared to do. Being seen, not as a product, not as a persona, but as a person. You want to be unforgettable. Don't just show people the shiny parts. Show them the truth, your heart, your soul, the courage it takes to be you when everyone else is trying to be someone else. That's the stuff that echoes. That's the stuff people carry with them long after you're gone. Because people don't remember perfect. They remember presence. They remember impact. They remember the one person who walked into their life, lit a match in the dark, and reminded them what it feels like to be alive. Be that person. Live so fully, so unapologetically, so intentionally, that your absence leaves a silence nothing else can fill. Don't shrink for comfort. Don't water yourself down for approval. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to be a fire, a spark, a storm, the kind of presence that walks into a room and reminds everyone who they could be if they stopped holding back. And yeah, you will be misunderstood. You will be too much for people who are used to playing small. You will be intimidating to those who have not yet dared to be themselves. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them stare. Because while they're watching, you're living. While they're hesitating, you're becoming. While they're hiding, you're rising. You were not put on this earth to be remembered for how fast you replied to a message, or how well you fit into someone else's expectations. You're here to be felt. You're here to shake souls. You're here to make people pause in the middle of their routine lives and think, damn, that person changed something in me. So show up, not as a mirror of what they want, but as a window into what's possible. Be the proof that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's power. Be the reminder that boundaries don't push people away. They pull the right people in. Be the one who doesn't just make people look, but makes them feel. And when you walk away, don't look back to see if they miss you. You'll know, because the ones who matter, the ones who saw you, who felt you, who were changed by you, they'll carry your energy like a flame they didn't know they needed. They'll talk about you when the music stops, when the room empties, when the silence hits, because something in you stays. Be so authentic that your truth becomes contagious. Be so intentional that your energy becomes legacy. And when they ask what made you different, let them say they didn't come to impress, they came to As Muhammad Ali said, don't count the days, make the days count. As Steve Jobs said, the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. And as you walk your path, remember the words of Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So go make them feel something real. Be the one they miss. Be the one they remember. Be the one who matters.